Times we came close to starting World War III. World wars ravaged the Earth in the beginning of the 20th century. How close have we been to making history repeat itself? Here are some of the times we came close to starting World War III. September 11th, 2001. The tragedy of September 11th was interpreted as a clear declaration of war by the people who implemented the attack. Until bin Laden took credit for the attack, the United States was preparing for World War III with nukes and all. The United Nations then took steps to go through should there ever be an attack like 9/11 again, and not have war be the only option. North versus South Korea. In 2010, North Korea launched an attack against South Korea's troops that were stationed on the island of Yeonpyeong. There were a total of about 160 missiles launched against the island, and it resulted in tremendous loss of life. It is concerning that the relations between the two Koreas may eventually spark World War III. Even though North Korea keeps threatening to start the war, it wouldn't be a productive action and may actually hurt the country itself instead. Soviet-Afghan War. Yes, you read that right. The 9-year-long conflict nearly started World War III. The United States and the United Kingdom provided the financing so that Afghan mujahideens were armed to fight the local Soviets. Essentially, it's a case of two countries paying another country to fight a war for them, which could have escalated into dangerous tensions and caused the Soviets to skip the middleman and attack the source. A bear. Yes, you read that right. A bear almost started World War III. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, an intruder set off the alarms at the Duluth American Air Base, which indicated that it was either a spy or a missile. Fighter pilots scrambled to take off, only to be stopped once the intruder was identified as a bear. So the entire world was almost exterminated thanks to a fuzzy wuzzy. The Black Suitcase. On January 25, 1995, the world was nearly thrown into a third world war. Norway and the United States had launched a research rocket to chart the aurora borealis in the Arctic. Norway had sent a message to Russia to let them know that this was happening, but the message never made it. Instead, Russia thought they were being attacked. So, Russian President Boris Yeltsin was awakened and he brought out the infamous Black Suitcase that would launch 2,200 rockets into the US. Luckily, he consulted with his advisors and waited until the rocket charted off course. The NORAD computer glitch. On November 9, 1979, a NORAD computer glitch made it look like the Soviet Union was descending with an attack upon the United States. At Colorado's North American Aerospace Command, they received reports that the SU had launched missiles. The response would be to launch fighter planes and save the president by getting him in the air. However, it turned out that a technician had accidentally started a simulation exercise to recreate a Soviet attack. Soviet false alarm. On September 26, 1983, Stanislav Petrov commanded a secret bunker owned by the Soviets. The sirens began to blare, which indicated that the United States had launched 5 missiles towards the Soviet Union. Petrov only had a few minutes to respond with a counterattack, but decided to wait just in case there was a glitch in the new system. Turns out that the alarm was a glitch, and Petrov thankfully exercised good judgment. U-2 spy plane. A day before the Cuban Missile Crisis ended, an American U-2 plane drifted off course because the northern lights obscured his vision. He ended up flying into Soviet airspace. Luckily, his American comrades were able to escort the plane back to safe air just minutes before Soviet planes arrived. But that simple error in judgment could have very well killed us all. Able Archer 83. Sometimes, even war games can nearly start a world war. The game or exercise was called Able Archer 83, and basically an attack on Europe would be met with the United States military strike on the Soviet Union. The US ended up airlifting 19,000 troops and elevated the alert status to DEFCON 1. The Soviets knew it was a game, but they also elevated their alert status, just in case. B-52 plane crash. On January 21, 1968, a United States Air Force B-52 plane crash was caused by a fire that broke out on the bomber. The pilot didn't have time to alert his base. The plane ended up crashing in ice about 7 miles from Thule. The plane explodes with the fuel and certain nuclear compounds. Had everything in the plane exploded, it would have been misinterpreted as a nuclear attack and started a war. War never changes. We hope you enjoyed this video. Here are some other videos we think you might like. Don't forget to click thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks.